When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish.
The podcast that wants to know, what are you into?
Oh. Right now, limoncello a little bit.
If someone said that, that might be an immediate block on an app.
Think so?
Yeah.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And
I've been answering that question a whole bunch lately.
What are you into?
Yeah, it's one of my pre-saved answers on Grindr.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, because you get that question so much.
Yeah, but you could be funny and just say sex.
Oh, God. I've had people say like something like that or like having a fun time. And it's like, okay, let's, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean.
Yeah, you don't want to just leave it to chance and see where the wind takes you, Kyle.
No, absolutely not. We need to plan this shit out. I need to know what you want me to do to you and how.
In what order?
In what order?
Using
for how
what parts
long?
of my body?
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Today
we're going to talk about slut-shaming, you whores.
Yeah, we're going to start by slut-shaming you dirty sluts.
Listen up, piggies. You
love it, don't you? You love it in the butt. You love it in the mouth.
It's funny when we do it. And we're also going to talk about the fact that you totally fucking trounced me.
I beat you so bad on the poll. So slut-shaming won both polls. So double victory for me on that. And then the bonus episode for this month, which already came out, was shrooms.
Yeah. Yep. You DP'd me.
And you loved it, you slut.
Yeah. But first, here we go. We have 100 words at a certain level of Patreon. If you send in 100 words, I will say them. It's called the Use Mike's Whole benefit. And it makes me happy inside and outside. It makes me happy everywhere, all over.
Yeah. Perfect. Spiritually, emotionally, physically.
Here we go.
Okay.
I have another 100 words coming at you. There has been some drama in the Cleveland area, and I thought it would be good to send this reminder to everyone as we head into Pride. The 100 words start after the colon.
See, that they even get so explicit about like, this is what 100 words starts.
This Pride season, let's make sure we're uplifting the voices and people who are not cis white men. If that does describe you, use your platform to promote and support our queer siblings who don't fit the so-called acceptable mold. POC, trans folks, non-binary people, lesbians, drag kings, and so many others who are too often overlooked. Those of us who hold privilege have a responsibility to use it for good. Book performers of color. Book drag kings. Show up. Listen. Support. Let's center those who have been pushed aside for far too long and work together to push bigotry out of Pride and out of our queer communities. P.S. Sorry, it is actually 108 words, and I hope Kyle gets annoyed when Mike ends up reading the entire email. Jacob, Ophelia Payne. Jacob Rossitano, thank you so much.
Yeah, what a wonderful message. What a horrible reading of it, because you read all the extra stuff. What a great message.
Apparently you can game the system just by taking advantage of this fact that I live for annoying you.
Yes, of course you can game the system. That's part of the problem of it. It's not reading 100 words. It's reading 100 plus words.
It's really interesting that like I love systems, Kyle. I love systems that are not systematic. Hence the dildo system for the local gay bar review. It makes no sense. Like it's magical. It makes me happy.
I think you like annoying me more than you like systems.
How can we test that theory?
And now the news.
Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News.
That was fun.
I have that power too.
Apparently so. Daddy Kyle shows up to the podcast today. I'm drinking wine, everybody. Kyle said he thought that the show might have been funnier when we were drinking.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, great. So
for
it'll be
sure.
half funnier because
I'm drinking coffee, so that's not going to make me any funnier at all.
All right. Well, news the first.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago in Utah, the Republican leaders of their legislature wanted to ban access to medically recommended care for trans minors. And they
medically recommended care is such a great, simple, easy, concise phrase to put there. That's wonderful.
Do what your fucking doctor says.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so they asked for a comprehensive state commissioned report asking what the impacts of gender affirming care are on the mental health and suicide risks for trans minors. And they specifically said that they wanted to get all of this data so that they could justify not spending state money on gender affirming care for minors. Anyway, the report is in, and the report says that they're all full of shit. So, of course, they immediately listened to the report and changed their minds.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. They did a meta study. There were 230 primary studies that involved 28,000 trans youth. And the quote, the body of evidence we have uncovered exceeds the amount of evidence that often serves as the basis of FDA approval for many high-risk new drugs approved in pediatric populations in the U.S., meaning like if this were a drug and not just talking about gender-affirming care, this would be more than enough data for the FDA.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, the report said that first, these kinds of treatments are not given to prepubertal children, which is like they're trying to make 4-year-olds have bottom surgery is like what they're not.
Yeah.
Puberty blockers and hormones are typically initiated only in early or mid adolescence, and surgeries, especially bottom surgeries, are not recommended for minors. There are no significant long-term safety concerns. Regret associated with treatment is extremely rare. Among the 32 studies examining regret specifically, researchers found that it was, quote, virtually non-existent.
Wow. 32 studies. Wow. That's great.
Yep. Anyway, so the Republican state representatives Katie Hall and Bridger Bollinger, doesn't matter. They came out and they immediately said, quote, the science just isn't there.
What?
The risks are real and the public is with us. This is the problem. Fuck the public.
Yeah.
I know we're in a democracy, but like the rights of the minority are a thing. I don't care if like we could all vote and decide by a 55% majority that all people with blonde hair should be murdered. Kyle.
Yeah. No.
That doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I hate that they just lie. Like their feeling about trans people, they feel kind of icky about trans people, so they just lie and say the data isn't in there, it isn't in yet, but it is, and it's very conclusive. And they can just say whatever they want anyway, in spite of that. Like it's just so frustrating.
Trans people are real. Trans kids are real. It's not just dudes in dresses. It's not just grooming. Affirming their gender and giving them gender affirming care is one of the critical key ways to improve outcomes like self-harm and suicidality. It is you're just wrong. If you think that like Timmy wakes up and decides that he wants to be Tammy today, that's incorrect. That is not what is happening. Fuck you.
Yeah, totally.
I do like saying fuck you. Okay, Kyle, news the second.
Great.
So the Kennedy Center, which has been going through it with President Dickbag Fuckface Asshole, was told by the Trump administration that they were not allowed to have any more shows at the Kennedy Center that had drag.
Oh.
No drag allowed. However, in one of my favorite examples of just malicious compliance, the 2025-26 season at the Washington, D.C. venue includes runs of Mrs. Doubtfire, Moulin Rouge, Chicago, and Monty Python's Spamalot, all shows that have drag in them. It's just not a drag show. So,
right.
Like, it's like Mrs. Doubtfire. This is one of my favorite things going around the internet is all of these memes about like you only worried about drag when you were told to be bothered by it, and like Tootsie and Mrs. Doubtfire and what's the really old one, that the movie about the two dudes that actually pretend to be chicks.
Some Like It Hot.
Some Like It Hot. Like drag has been around. It's a part of mainstream culture for fucking ever, and they just now have decided to like
SNL all the time.
All right, yeah, exactly. Anyway, I just think it's funny that the new Kennedy Center leader is a gay man who has held multiple foreign policy positions in Trump's first and current terms, but so he's a little confused apparently, but has done his best to include some drag.
Doesn't Hairspray always have drag in it?
Yeah. I don't know if it always does. Tracy Turnblatt's mom, right? Played by John Travolta, who's also a confused man. Anyway, it just makes me happy that like you can't actually get rid of drag no matter how hard you try, because like there's a lot of stuff in the classic American catalog that has drag in it. Fuck you.
Yeah. Nice. Way to go.
News the last, Kyle. This is kind of a weird one to include, but I wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
George Wendt, who played Norm for 11 seasons on the sitcom Cheers, has passed away. And it's an opportunity to talk about an early example of positive commentary on gay stereotypes. So in 1988, there was an episode of Cheers called Norm, Is That You? And in that episode, Frasier and Lilith have Norm help them redecorate their apartment. So Norm comes over and like has some opinions, and then they try them, and like they really like it. And Frasier says to Norm, "You actually have a gift for this." And Norm says, quote, "Gift? Try curse, pal. I spent my whole damn life trying to cover up the fact that I have a great sense of color, and I always know where to stick the ottoman." And so Frasier and Lilith recommend him to their friends, the Coopers, but they say to Norm that the uppity Coopers expect their designer to be stylish. And the euphemism was that Norm needed to be gay.
Right.
So he pretends to be gay. He adopts a flamboyant persona, complete with ascots and affected speech. And he goes through this whole thing with the Coopers and designs this fabulous look for them. And then he has a speech. So it leads to the Coopers try to hook him up with another dude. They try to match make him for him. And he says, quote, "I can't go on with this any longer. I wanted to be your decorator, so I pretended to be who I thought you wanted me to be, but it's time I came out of the closet. I'm straight." And he says, "Ever since I was a little boy, I've known that I prefer girls, but the point is, I think you should judge people for what they do, not for who they do." And it just apparently in 1988, Kyle, they were doing our show for us on Cheers.
Yeah, who knew Cheers was the predecessor to Gayish?
And Reagan was still president, right? And that was just a totally different time. AIDS was this like just terrifying specter over everything that had to do with the gay community. So for them to not only talk about gay stereotypes, but in a way that said that they were silly, and trying to shine a light on the silliness of them by having a straight man. I just think is really, really interesting. In the book, our book, I talk a little bit about Lyle, the effeminate heterosexual, on Saturday Night Live. This is kind of a similar vibe, but I think a more positive one. Anyway, thank you to George Wendt for being an ally all the way back in the 80s, and for that episode, which I think is really super interesting.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Now you have to, because you started it, you have to say that's the news.
Oh, that's the news.
Yep.
Speaking of people that are wonderful, I want to thank our new Patreon member, Robert W. Lewis.
That's a made up name.
That's a made up name. And anytime you have a middle initial, they're always a serial killer.
Or an author.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like yours.
Los dos.
And if you want to get ad-free episodes a day early, if you want the bonus episode about shrooms, which is out, then go to patreon.com/gayish podcast.
If you want to use my hole.
If you want to use Mike's hole, if you want to support the show, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, in our holes.
Whore.
Yeah, you want to talk about sluts?
Yeah, let's talk about slut shaming.
Let's talk about slut shaming. As you mentioned, so you won both polls.
I won both polls, killed it.
Yeah. And I don't know. We had this quandary of like what the bonus episode should be this month because the tiebreaker poll had it different than the poll in the Gap Bridger poll.
Yeah.
But shrooms, we decided to go for shrooms mostly so that I could be a double loser.
We decided we want to use the tiebreaker vote since that's the like mass opinion kind of vote that second place should be the one that we pick. That's what the people want, and that's what like a broad majority of people voted on. So
that's right, Kyle. The people want shrooms, so we're
giving them to
them.
So we're giving them shrooms. Exactly. Yeah. So, this was also slut shaming was also a survey request.
Yeah.
So thank you for requesting on the survey. That's why I found it and put it on the vote for this month.
So why did you put it on the poll, Kyle? Are you feeling some shame these days?
I'm feeling the slut. I feel shame just not related to being a slut, but just for everything in my life. I'm always ashamed of everything I do for every reason. So those things are unrelated, I think, to me. But I feel both of them. Yeah. No, I don't know that we can talk personal stuff, but I don't necessarily feel too slut shamed, especially with my friend group. I feel like people are pretty sex positive, and when I tell them that I've been having a lot of sex, they're like, "Way to go!" Then again, I'm a dude, so like sometimes that's what dudes get when they have a lot of sex.
Yeah, but okay, so I think that even our straight friends, especially our straight lady friends, are on board. They're similarly congratulatory. Yeah.
That's true.
Well, I do want to talk to you about the history of slut shaming.
Okay.
And it's not quite as cut and dry as you might think, but like in the abstract, slut shaming is new-ish.
Okay.
So what order do I want to do this in? So ancient human societies were like more down with the promiscuity than others. And I think when we say slut, we just mean a promiscuous person, right? Like a moral judgment against a person who is more sexually active with different partners than is typical. I don't know.
Yeah. Or the other thing I read in definitions is like the perception that they're more sexually active, because you don't actually have to be having a lot of sex. There's some ways to be slut shamed even if you're not actually doing it, but just based on people's assumptions or judgment.
Yeah, there's the whole thing that like a slut is anybody who's having more sex than me. But so ancient societies tended to be more accepting of promiscuity, or at least that seems to be the case. Especially when we look at like religion, and pre-Christian societies had a lot of like sex rituals and magic and stuff associated with them that leads us to believe that they had a vastly different set of moral and ethical guidelines around sexual behavior.
Yeah, Christians just don't have any sex rituals anymore.
They just don't.
I mean, you're supposed to like have sex with your partner once you get married. I feel like that's the only sex ritual we have. That
you're supposed to put Jesus in your mouth.
You are. That's very sexy.
Now, per usual, women end up getting the brunt of the focus, and so the early Christian church started to really fight against the idea that that it was okay to be promiscuous, and they liked to point to this is the like one man, one woman, that sex is for procreation, that that there's a lot in Christian dogma and Jewish dogma, but more Christian dogma that that women are supposed to be subservient to men and sexually chaste. There are a lot of dudes in the Bible who have like harems and lots of partners, but they tend to be royalty. But here's the thing. We're going to keep coming back to this dichotomy over and over and over again, Kyle, but like men and women are held to a double standard when it comes to sexual activity.
Yeah.
And terms like slut or whore or harlot, all of those have a implication that we're talking about a woman. Now, gay men use those terms for each other. But men, historically speaking, tend to have terms like stud or player, or it's complimentary to say that a guy is sleeping around, whereas a woman who sleeps around is deficient, has fallen, is tainted in some way.
Yeah.
So the early Christian church really gets that idea going, and the Catholic Church really cements it that sex is for procreation and procreation only. You're not allowed to have it for pleasure, and that means only ever with your spouse.
Are you saying slut shaming is the fault of religion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense once you say it out loud. I didn't think about that, but that totally adds up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely is. Well, sort of, or at the very least that like sows the seeds of slut shaming. Cause I want to get to, I mean, all of that makes sense. Like, I don't think we need to dive too deep into it, that like, we know how the Christian religion treats sex and sexuality and directly impacts queer people as a result of that. But all of that comes out of this puritanical culture that says that sex is for making babies, not for fun or pleasure.
Right.
The Victorians, it's always the fucking Victorians, really amped up the shame on behavior. And they had this sort of, where did my stuff on the Victorians go? I'm doing this out of a different order than I intended, and that's not great. Like self-editing on the fly while talking is not great. But yeah, the Victorians had a lot of like cultural repression. They had like attitudes about like what you had to wear and how you had to behave. There was a lot of like custom and etiquette that made sexuality sort of underground even more than it already was, and all with that like veneer of Christianness slapped on it. I'm going to fast forward a little bit, but really slut shaming is because of condoms and birth control.
Oh,
so what happens is because sex leads to procreation for most people because they are heterosexual. Once we start having contraceptives that are readily available, and especially after the advent of the female birth control pill, the sexual revolution happens in the 1960s, and that's when we see this cultural backlash to that behavior, and women really start getting called sluts. It's also when we see more gay people. The sexual revolution sort of opens up the idea that sex can be for more than just procreation. We can now have sex without procreating because we have all of these contraceptive options. Once you open the door to sex as pleasure being an okay thing, then that lets gay people sort of have a more forward presence because, well, if it's just for pleasure, the fact that they can't have babies doesn't matter as much. Go ahead and fuck your brains out, boys.
Yeah.
But there's this huge backlash to the sexual revolution and an amplification of messages that especially women, but everybody should keep it in their pants. And if you don't, you're a slut.
One of the things that I'm so glad about being gay is that I will never procreate, because like that risk of sex, I mean, there's a lot of other risks that we have to deal with. I get that. But like we never risk accidentally making a baby. And I'm so happy about that. That's such a nice concern to have to get to take off the table.
I mean, it would be pretty great, I think, if everybody could only have babies when they wanted them.
Yeah.
Like, if you had to take a pill to have a baby, that's what we should really do.
Oh, yeah. Like turn a light switch on to be like, yes, ready for baby.
Yep. But there's no getting away from the fact that it's this basic biological truth about the way that human bodies work and procreation works, and the intersection of that with culture and religion, and then the intersection of that with contraception, making it possible to have sex for pleasure instead of just procreation, leads to really the modern concept of slut shaming. And there really has been a back and forth fight about that I think is still ongoing. You look at, all of the debates that we have about Roe v. Wade and the pro-life versus pro-choice debate ultimately comes down to what is sex for? Mm-hmm. Is it okay for sex to be merely for pleasure? Not merely for pleasure. Like I just did it myself. I just sort of slut shamed myself. Pleasure is a perfectly acceptable reason to do something, especially between consenting adults in which no one's getting harmed. That it is a clusterfuck of stuff that all comes together to lead us to slut shame people. Now, stop it. Stop.
You fixed it. We fixed it, Mike.
We did it.
We did it. But yeah, definitely stop it.
Stop it.
just stop.
Just quit. That's the history of slut shaming and sort of like my read of why we have it, why it's a thing, and where it came from.
I love it. I don't love slut shaming. I love your articulation of where it came from.
I love sluts.
I love sluts.
I wish I was better at it.
Oh God. If you love sluts, that's one reason you like me. I'm going to talk about the Gayda.
Let's talk about the Gayda, Kyle.
This is called Exploring Perceptions of Slut Shaming on Facebook. Evidence for a Reverse Sexual Double Standard by Liana J. Papp, Charlotte Hagerman, Michelle A. Mindy J. Ettrell, Minion Liss, Haley Miles McLean, Caitlin M. Robertson. God, that was so many people. How many people need to work on a study? Let's narrow it down to 2 or 3 people for me, please, because I don't want to read that many names.
They're academic sluts. They're
they're a lot of slapping their name everywhere. This came out in 2015 in Gender Issues, which I tried to find, and it might not be a peer-reviewed journal because usually that's the first thing that pops up when you search for the journal's name. But
maybe they don't need peer reviews. There's enough people in that tent already.
They have so many people that did it. They have enough peers named on the actual article itself. Okay. So what we've been talking about, that women are judged more harshly for perceived or actual activity, sexual activity, whereas men are rewarded for theirs. That's called the sexual double standard.
Yeah.
The opposite of that is the reverse sexual double standard. It's the idea that men are actually judged more harshly than women for their sexual activity. So this study...
That's a lie. That doesn't happen.
Studies are conflicted, actually.
Okay. All right.
Apparently, both have shown up in studies as which one is true. So this study was like, both have been said that they're the case, so we're going to try to figure out which one is the right one, the sexual double standard or the reverse sexual double standard. So this study took 308 participants between the ages of 18 and 25, and so that's an important thing. This is young people, college age and just after college age people. Majority identified as straight, so 84% were straight, which that's a good chunk of non-straight people in this study. Bisexuals were 7%, gay or lesbians.
Glad we included those straight people. There's so little data on them.
You gotta include straight people. Don't forget about straight people, everybody. We should have a straight Pride Month. Gay or lesbian people was 5% and other was 4%. So they presented an ambiguous online conversation between a so-called slut and a slut shamer. And they varied in gender. Sorry, non-binary people, they did not include you in this. They varied in gender between the two participants being male, 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 female, female, male, female, female. Mm-hmm. And the status update on Facebook read from the and just assume I'm using quotes every time I say this. The slut said, "Going out, gonna get some tonight." And the comment on that post read, "Saw you last night. You're such a slut." People were asked to evaluate the slut and the slut shamer to interpret the tone of the conversation and try to understand the attitudes towards male and female sluts and slut shamers, and then compare the differences between our opinions about each of those different combinations. Here's the results they found. They found that participants held a reverse sexual double standard. The male slut was seen as less appealing overall.
Reverse double sounds like a position, you know?
I did the reverse sexual double. They found that participants desired more social distance from the male slut than from the female slut. So it's interesting that at least one study in this example found that there was a reverse sexual double standard.
Okay.
And again, this is among young people. So maybe young people are more likely to understand the concept of slut shaming and be aware of our treatment, our mistreatment of women and the way we judge them for their sexual behavior. So maybe they were more likely to kind of try to make up for that fact, and were less likely to do so for men. I don't know. I don't know.
That's interesting. The behavior is less about like, are they internally slut shaming or not? But is there social stigma associated with being a slut shamer that prevents them from expressing that?
Yeah, I think young people are far more aware of social issues, and this is one of them that I think might lead them to try to counteract that, especially in a study, to try to prove they're not slut shaming anyone. So that could be, that's just I made that up. That's not what the study said. That's one possible explanation for why we came away with a reverse sexual double standard, because I get your initial gut reaction when I said this is like, nope, that doesn't happen. That's not a thing. Did this convince you?
No.
Okay. Well, cool. Mike, you're like those Republicans that got some data and didn't change their minds.
I know, but like, I think, first of all, any study that says social media is part of like how it's being determined, I'm suspect of. Because I think that the way that people comport themselves online is often a poor reflection of how they actually behave in real life. But this wasn't about their online performance. It was about online like behaviors. It was about interpreting conversations between people. And they just used, because it was young people, they just used Facebook as the like conduit for that. So I am far more likely on Facebook to say Republicans are poison and a stain on our sheets. I don't know. And like stuff that I would never, ever say in person. And I imagine that there is a reverse to that also, which is there's stuff that I would say in person that I would never, ever say online. I just think that the abstraction layer there makes it really difficult to draw conclusions from. But I don't know.
Yeah. And this evidence is not, to your credit, this evidence is not overwhelming. Like they did mention that studies were conflicted on the truth of the matter. So, you know, this is one more study that doesn't prove necessarily among all the studies that this is the definitive one. So it's interesting that there's a bit of a disagreement about what's true.
Yeah. And I think too that there's this weird, okay, now I'm thinking about locker room talk. Locker room talk gets like so much credit or something as like a secret, sacred space. And
that like kind of the negative repercussions of what you say aren't allowed to like come and bite you in the ass because you get to say whatever you want and it's just locker room talk.
Yeah. And I wonder if there is an impact there on like why men and women might be seen differently. Like, I don't know. I've heard a lot of frat guys talk about dirty sluts that they've railed or whatever. And like, they would never, ever put that on Facebook because they know better, but it's sure being said.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I feel like I would see this exchange. If someone said, you're such a slut, I could see one of my friends saying that and that not being
I would 100%
shaming.
say that to you, Kyle.
Yeah, totally. And that would not be slut shaming. I would not be offended by that. Yeah. So it's interesting. That conversation in and of itself is very interesting because it could be taken lots of different ways. And that was the point. They intentionally made it ambiguous so that people, would interpret it and they judge their interpretations of it. But yeah, that's the Gayda.
I want to talk to you about chimpanzees and bonobos, Kyle.
It's been a while since our friends bonobos have shown up in the podcast.
And it's been so long. I want everyone to know we're intentionally pronouncing it incorrectly.
Oh, right. Please don't text in about that.
This is a season 1 joke. So
yes.
if you're new to the pod, you might not know that we say bonobo here, and it's funny.
And it's funny. Yeah, just know that it's funny and you like it. That's a good joke to be like, hey, just so you know, it's funny.
Just so you know, this is very funny.
This is very funny.
Okay, so we are very, very, very humans are very, very, very closely related to both chimpanzees and bonobos. Like 99.5%. They are our closest living relatives in the evolutionary tree.
Which is
life.
Wild.
I mean, but have you ever like looked close up at a primate's face and hands and like noticed at all? Boyfriend took me to the zoo here a couple of weekends ago, and we were in the gorilla cages, and we went to the chimpanzee and orangutan, and in every case, I was just looking at their face, and I was like, these are like basically humans, like. It's very clear to me that we are very super duper related, like the way that they move and their like facial features and structures. Like, I don't know how you can't hang out with those animals at all and feel like evolution is absolutely totally true and that we're super related.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Okay. But chimpanzees and bonobos, despite being our closest relatives, behave radically differently when it comes to sex and, the way that they sort of slut shame or what I want to get to is whether our tendency to slut shame is maybe rooted a little bit in our biology or in our evolutionary history.
Okay.
So in chimpanzee culture, there is usually a dominant male who has the sexual rights to all of the females in their pod, their unit, their group.
That's so sexy.
Huh?
That's sexy.
You think it's sexy?
Yeah.
Okay, great. You want to be a chimp lady?
Yeah.
You want to be owned by a chimp daddy?
Yes. Use me, chimp daddy.
Okay, great. The dominant males enforce exclusivity by basically beating the shit out of any lower ranking males that try to mate with their females.
It got less hot.
I don't know, man. Like if I'm being owned by Chimp Daddy and then like some other chimp boy tries to fuck me and Chimp Daddy beats the crap out of him, like I might be turned on by that.
Oh, geez. Wow. We have some different sexual interests.
Yeah. I wouldn't actually be into that. Just
okay.
Okay. So if a lower ranking male is caught sneaking some sex in there, trying to like
slip one in there,
fly under the radar, then a higher ranking individual later will punish him and may also punish the female. So we have this like place where, I mean, they don't have morals, they don't have ethics, they don't have church, but we can like observe sort of behaviors that suggest that like sleeping around, being a slut is not tolerated. Like it's Chimp Daddy or nothing. And it's also very patriarchal. It's about like ownership in a fucked up way, and who has the right to bang who. It's also about reproduction, obviously. So that's how chimps roll. Okay. So now moving to bonobos. They are famous for their sexual openness. This is why we've talked about them on the show a few times. They say hello by shaking dicks. Like,
they're into it and they're down.
And their society is matriarchal in that the women are in charge and are the ones that are creating the social cohesiveness to bonobo groups. And that's all because she's railed every dude in the village and doesn't know who the father of her child is. Like, and they're like, what we would deem sluttish behavior is the structure of their society is sort of contingent on her doing whoever she wants to, whenever she wants to. And babies happen because, sure, of course they do. But like they have every kind of queer sexual behavior is seen in both cultures, but in bonobos more so. And so here's the thing. It could be argued that we are meant to be slutty, that in our DNA we are bonobos. And that the argument could be made that our social primate life, biologically, we are meant to be slutty.
It would make sense evolutionarily that the more sex you have, the more likely you are to reproduce, and that's the like key thing is just reproduction of the species. So it would make sense that those things, that being slutty would be an advantage evolutionarily.
Yep. I agree. And then in chimp culture, if we are more like chimpanzees, that we shouldn't be slutty, that it's about mating, and it's about mating at the right time with the right person, and that our society can and should be that. There's also the interesting idea that bonobos obviously fuck for pleasure. And it doesn't seem like chimpanzees do, or at least not as much. And the fact that we experience pleasure when we have sex is like score one for the we should be slutty.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That it's like another evolutionarily, it's trying to encourage us to do a certain behavior by making it pleasurable and trying to reward that behavior. Yeah.
Yep. And bonobo groups.
Right.
Yeah. They use sex as a social bonding tool. Basically, it creates community, which there's some clear analogs there to me with gay culture of like, there's a lot of parts of gay culture that I have a hard time identifying with, but are definitely present of like, go to the bar and like you see a group of 8 dudes and he's been banging him and that's his ex and they're banging each other sometimes. And like this idea that there is that there is a social bonding effect to groups having sex with each other is maybe a thing that we get from biology.
I feel like we're more likely to have friendships that were started based on sex than people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
I feel like we're more likely to have slept with our friends.
Now, something else I want to get to in this section before we move on is the idea that women don't like sex. And here's an unfortunate truth, like study-wise, like Utah Republicans and me just now with your Gata. There are several studies to suggest that women, at least behavior-wise, have stronger attitudes about sexual promiscuity than men, and that left to their own devices, women will have sex less. So there was this study where they they discovered that they would have a person, quote, of average attractiveness. Don't know how they measured that, but let's not dig into that too much. Of average attractiveness, a man of average attractiveness that would offer sex to a woman was turned down almost universally. A woman of average attractiveness offering sex to a man, it was over half. Over half of the men were like, "Yeah, let's fuck." And anyway, where I'm going with this is there's been some studies about queer sluttiness and whether it's just about our not just gender but sex. Psychologist J. Michael Bailey said that social conservatives use promiscuity among gay men as evidence of decadent gay male culture. But he says, J. Michael Bailey says, quote, "I think they're wrong. Promiscuous gay men are expressing an essentially masculine trait. They are doing what most heterosexual men would do if they could. They are in this way just like heterosexual men, except that they don't have women to constrain them."
Oh, that's interesting. Then that little negative kind of judgment of women at the end. That women are constraining straight men.
Yeah. But like, it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about, but I think we have to talk about it. Like, it's funny for all of the stuff that we have about like calling women sluts and treating them poorly for wanting to have sex for pleasure. It's like that thing that Republicans do where every accusation is actually an admission of guilt, right? It's men who are that way. Maybe. I don't know.
It's interesting in that study example where the average attractiveness, like, would you sleep with him or not? I feel like there could be some social pressure for women to say that they don't sleep with him. Like, is that because is it inherent in women that they are less likely to sleep with someone of average attractiveness, or is it a like societally enforced upon them? Like, I don't know that women are naturally born to want sex less. I feel like that's something that society pushes on them, and whether they understand like where that pressure is coming from or not, I think it's a societal kind of constraint placed on women.
Yeah, I get that. And I want to read into it more. I want to find out more, Kyle, because I think that like as a feminist, I want to believe that it's just societal oppression,
right?
That like men and women wanting sex the same amount just is that jibes better with my feelings and sensibilities about the world.
Yeah.
But what if it's not true? You know, like how well did they balance against these societal pressures? Because I agree with you that could totally have skewed these results. How did they do anything in the study to balance that effect or not?
Yeah. And is that even possible to like remove the societal impacts from, in doing a study? I don't know.
Yep. Absolutely. And I talk about this in the book. You're probably a slut is one of the chapters of the book that I wrote.
Yeah. Yeah.
And gay men are on another level for whatever reason, whether it's biology, whether it's society, whether it's, you can blame it on whatever you want to. Gay men fuck each other at a rate far higher than every other category of human. And, I don't know. Yeah. If like, not to slut shame, but like if somebody wants to slut shame and they want to slut shame the gay male community, I disagree with them, but I think they're pointing the cannon in the right direction.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Can I tell you more about slut shaming gay men?
Tell me more about slut shaming gay men, Kyle.
This segment is called what I want my new nickname to be, prep whores.
Yeah, prep whore.
This is from a 2024 article called "Prep Slut Shaming is Still Alive and Well and It's Harming Us All." This was in Gay Times. And they got a lot of this info from the book Sluts by Beth Ashley. So PrEP was approved for use in the UK and the US in 2012, in the EU in 2016, and in Australia in 2018, which I didn't realize Australia was so late to the party.
I mean, Get it together, Australia.
Get your shit together, Australia. A 2015 research paper called Prep Whores and HIV Prevention, the Queer Communication of HIV Pre-Exposure Prophylaxis. In that research study, researchers found that the arrival of PrEP created a new category of queer people that they called the Prep Whores. People who take PrEP are frequently painted as sluts and shamed for taking PrEP.
Yeah.
Some of the numbers, roughly a third of men on PrEP have experienced discrimination in the UK. 43% of men on PrEP were called a slut specifically because they were taking the medication.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the research, they said that slut shaming around PrEP has the potential to, quote, cloud the judgment of medical providers, policymakers, insurers, and potential PrEP users.
Wow. Yeah.
Which that is a broad list of categories of people that could potentially be affected, and that affects our day-to-day lives, the government, our doctors, our so many industries. Like there's a lot of people that can be affected by PrEP slut shaming.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and I remember going on PrEP, and the phrase that I would use when talking to my friends about it, I'm sure I said this to you during that part of my life. I don't know if I'm slutty enough to be on PrEP. That's exactly what I would say. I don't know if I'm slutty enough to be on PrEP. And that, like, I for sure had a stigma about like people on PrEP are sluts, and that's why they want to be on it. And I've gotten over that real quick, or maybe I'm just more comfortable with my sluttiness.
Yeah. That's a great thing to grow into your sluttiness.
Yeah.
Good for you. Amanda, one example, Amanda, a 28-year-old bisexual woman with a boyfriend she has a bisexual boyfriend and she's in a poly relationship with him, said, quote, I was slut shamed by a doctor when I asked for it. He implied I don't use condoms and sarcastically asked me if I've ever heard of them. He then told me that having less sexual partners is always the best way to reduce STIs.
Okay, great. Write the pill or don't.
I mean, having no sex is the best way to not get STIs. I know this information, like no shit. And Ian Howley, chief executive of Health Equality and Rights Organization, or HERO, said, quote, we really need to stop slut shaming each other. Calling each other lazy, irresponsible, or promiscuous does nothing to stop the spread of HIV. It only takes one sexual encounter for HIV and STIs to be passed on. Those who are on PrEP are being responsible. They are stopping the spread of HIV within the gay and bisexual communities. We should be applauding them, not shaming them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I definitely agree with. I think I have a rough time with the judgments that we place on people taking PrEP. I definitely don't slut shame. That's an easy, just don't do that. But also I think it might be more likely to have a lot more sex because you're taking PrEP. I think that might also be true. Mm-hmm. And some people, I don't know, that's a weird, I know there's a lot of judgment around, does PrEP make people sluttier, and does that spread STIs more? Are they more likely to have more risky sex? And I think the uncomfortable truth is it might.
Well, okay. And?
Yeah. I mean, that's just like, then helpful to know if you're going to prescribe PrEP, then we need to know if that leads to riskier sex and condomless sex, then maybe also prescribe doxypep, or make sure your testing is set up for at least every 3 months or maybe more. And, it could lead to a lot of important doctor's practices or, things that, are kind of built into taking PrEP right now. Testing every 3 months is kind of par for the course, but
yeah.
I think it's just important to know that information if it does lead to riskier sex.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think it does?
I mean, I don't, PrEP doesn't cause butt sex. People cause butt sex. Like
you can't stop a good guy with PrEP.
Right. Yeah. I get it. And there's probably like a sociological answer. Like we could probably determine, like, without slut shaming any individual, en masse, does prescribing PrEP lead to people being more promiscuous, and does that lead to worse health outcomes for them? Like, that's a perfectly valid question to ask. And I do not trust this government or the medical community in this country to successfully navigate that. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We kind of need this messaging of the importance and the positive sides of taking PrEP, and we kind of need to downplay some of the potential negative side effects of it to just get it through, get governments to approve it and get insurances to cover it and all that shit.
I will also say, if we're talking en masse, if we're talking about like the way that like whole groups of people behave, herd immunity is a thing. Like the reason it was important for everybody to get the vaccine for COVID was not just about protecting yourself, but it was about protecting everyone else, because it slows the travel of the virus through the population. And an argument could be made that PrEP is actually protecting not just the person taking it, but protecting all of the people with whom they have a sexual encounter, regardless of what other kinds of protection they utilize in that interaction.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people. We have a dear friend actually who can't take PrEP. He is allergic, has like a violent reaction to it. So like, if everybody else is on PrEP, he's still sort of protected that way. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. I think the point, though, is we should be applauding those who take PrEP. I think that doesn't change. None of this changes the fact that we should be applauding those who take PrEP and not judging their sexual behavior.
Let's applaud each other, Kyle, for being
Yay!
on PrEP.
Reynolds just looked up at me.
Oh,
he's like, "What's going on?" I was asleep. Something happening. No, you can go back to sleep, buddy. That's PrEP whores.
Yeah, PrEP whores, man. It didn't work on me, but
oh, sorry.
It sort of did, I guess.
Maybe you need to double your dose.
Okay. I wanted to talk about slut shaming in religion a little bit more and talk about purity rings.
Oh, the Joe Bros.
Okay, this is really where it's coming to, Kyle, is whether I can want Nick Jonas to sit on my face anymore or not.
Well, yeah, they used to have purity. That was a big part of their like whole personality, was having those purity rings.
If people don't know what we're talking about, purity rings were a big thing since the 1990s, at least in the United States. And it was a ring that people would wear, kids would wear, indicating that they were saving themselves for marriage, that they were going to remain a virgin until they had a spouse. And it's very deeply tied into evangelical Christian purity culture, horse shit. But the Catholic Church and evangelical Christian groups really pushed this as a thing starting in the 1990s. And the Mormon Church also really loves this thing. And at the end of the day, isn't it just slut shaming? Isn't it just it's like pre-slut shaming. It seems to me like it's saying, hey, you're a slut, so now promise you're not going to be a slut by wearing this thing.
I don't know if I agree with you.
Okay.
Because I think your own personal decision about whether or not to have sex and how vocal you are about that decision is all up to you. So if you want to wear a purity ring because you're not going to have sex, go for it. Good for you. I think that could very easily lead to slut shaming if you then turn around and say, like, have judgment over someone not having a purity ring, or won't marry someone because they didn't save themselves for marriage. Like, I think it could lead to slut shaming, but I don't think it is in and of itself slut shaming.
Okay. Okay. But you do admit that it could be born of the same culture that wants to slut shame.
For sure.
Okay. So these things were everywhere for a while, and I do feel like they've like references to purity rings have gone down in the last, I don't know, probably 10 years or so, and I'm not sure why. But the thing that's wild to me is the number of people, famous people, who have advocated for purity rings or have been part of purity ring culture. And some of the names on this list, I'm just so fucking surprised by. First of all, non-A-list celebrity Selena Gomez.
You shut your whore mouth. You dirty slut.
Apparently she was a purity ring girl.
Wow.
Miley Cyrus.
Is it just all the Disney people?
Lots of Disney people are on this list. Yes.
Okay. Miley Cyrus. Interesting.
Okay. Well, who's Barlow Girl? I have
no idea who that is.
That person is on this list. Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, Group One crew.
Nope.
Blanca.
Nope.
Demi Lovato.
I know that one. Also Disney.
Stacey Orico.
Nope.
Rebecca St. James.
Nope. She has
Jessica
Saint
Simpson
in her name. Oh, Jessica Simpson.
And Jordan Sparks.
American Idol winner. Or
yep.
Did she win or was she just on it? I don't remember.
But last and most sad, she won. Jordan Sparks won American Idol season 6. Is the Joe Bros.
Yeah, the Jonas Brothers.
The Jonas Brothers are like purity ring crazy people.
But they used to be, right? Aren't they over it now?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm not sure. Here's the thing. I'm always on the lookout. I'm very sensitive to what I perceive as opportunistic behavior in music. And it's one of my big criticisms of T Swift is that like she was country until she decided she wanted to make money. And I wonder if those sexy boys who need to sit on my face realized that they needed to sexualize their image in order to truly be successful in the pop music scene. And that I don't know what's true for them on the inside. It's not me. That was funny, Kyle. Anyway.
Oh, got it. I didn't get it at first.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Anyway, the Jonas. I don't know what's true for them. I don't know if maybe they still are purity culture assholes on the inside. I don't know. Anyway, the last thing I want to say about purity rings, because I think it's fucking hilarious, is there's this person named Nadia Bowles-Weber, who's an author and Lutheran minister, and is the founding pastor of House for All Sinners and Saints in Denver, Colorado. And she is a advocate for basically Christian sluttiness.
I love that. That's not where I expected that to go.
Yeah. And so she has done a lot. She's written a lot. She's talked about it a lot. She was a stand-up comedian for a while.
Wow.
And all of this. But she did this thing in 2018 where she asked women to give them or send to her their purity rings. When she had gotten enough purity rings from these women, she melted them down and made a sculpture of a vulva. She said that it represented the healing of the psychic damage induced by the purity movement. And on Valentine's Day, she gave the sculpture to Gloria Steinem.
Wow.
Yeah. But just this idea that like you can be Christian and a slut. I'm going to make a giant vagina out of your rings and then give them to Gloria Steinem. It's just, I love it. I love everything about it.
Yeah. What a cool person.
Yeah. You said you have an Ask Reddit?
Yeah. Just so you know, on the Patreon segment, I'm going to go over an article about ways you may be slut shaming without really realizing it. So if you want to cut out the slut shaming in your life, then join us over on the Patreon segment.
But my God, Kyle.
Oh my God. What?
We didn't even talk about the tops, promiscuous tops versus promiscuous bottoms. And if there's a double standard there, like taking a bunch of dicks makes you slutty.
Yeah.
Putting your dick in a bunch of bottoms doesn't.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm glad you brought that up because we definitely need to talk about it. I do think bottoms are judged more harshly for their sexual promiscuity. And I think we borrow this from straight culture of if you put your penis inside of a thing, then you're cool and awesome. And if you receive a penis, then you're judged for it.
Yep. Stop it.
Stop it. That's the summary of this episode is just stop it.
Yep.
For Ask Reddit, I found
we should slut shame tops.
That's
what we should do.
There we go. Let's Uno reverse it on that.
Take more dicks and slut shame tops just to fix the balance in the universe.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, sorry, I keep interrupting you. Go ahead.
That's okay. It's the wine. What qualifies as slut shaming? This was a question posed to Ask Gay Bros Over 30 by Pencil Ship.
Sounds like a question a whore would ask.
They said, what do you consider slut shaming to be? What are the parameters? For example, if I'm talking to a guy, I'm into him, but then I stumble upon an online profile of his that is pretty explicit with a nude up or other sexual photo, etc., is it slut shaming to be less attracted or think of him differently? Or if you want to have sex with someone, but then you hear about their sexual activity, cruising, raw anonymous sex, is it weird to lose all interest? I guess I'm not sure how far being sex positive needs to extend into personal decision making. Of course, treat people like human beings who are no better or worse based on their sex lives. But beyond that, what is fine and what is slut shamey?
Kyle, have you ever hooked up with somebody and then found out later that they were a sex worker?
I've hooked up with someone who I knew in advance was a sex worker, but I don't think I ever found out later.
I just am realizing that, like, my own personal slut shaming, if I found out beforehand, I might have some, like, stuff to work through, some, like, feelings to work through. But then if I find out afterwards, I find it complimentary. Like, if you've fucked a lot of people because you're getting paid for it and you're good at your job and you still want to have sex with me, that's pretty great.
Yeah, that's interesting that the before versus after has an impact on your perception of them.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that.
Yeah. A lot of the answers of this question talked about slut shaming as more of an action. So the top response is, I've always considered slut shaming to be letting people know about your dislike or distaste for their sexual choices. Having an opinion on it that you keep to yourself isn't shaming them because they'll never know what you think. Being positive doesn't mean you're going to be into everyone and everything. You're still allowed to have your own personal boundaries. Just don't yuck on someone else's yum. We all do things in the bedroom that someone out there will think is a turnoff, even if it's something very common and benign. Which,
okay, I kind of agree with that. I think a little bit of this is splitting hairs. I think because slut judgment, what is slut shaming but slut judgment that you say?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just whether it's verbal or not, and I don't know. I think it still comes from the same place and requires the same introspection, like the same area in your chest cavity needs to be looked at.
Yeah. I think this person, I agree with you that if you feel these feelings, definitely don't say it to someone. So that's a helpful, like sometimes you can't control whether you're into someone or not. And if they share nude photos with you and now you're less into them, you can't force yourself to like them or like you can't force yourself to not have that reaction. So definitely don't say anything, but you may need to work on where the source of that comes from. And it may come from a slut shaming place.
Yep. Your Grindr profile doesn't need to say no fats, no femmes, no Asians, no olds, no whatever your no's are that you have on your profile. You don't have to say any of that part. You can just be into who you're into and not into who you're not and not look like an asshole. My
Grindr profile says not into profiles with list of knots.
Great.
Also into irony.
Great.
Yeah. Other things that I wanted to mention that we didn't talk about is that other people, we, of course, given our gay men, talked about gay and bisexual men in this episode. But according to Wikipedia, at least Black women are disproportionately affected by slut shaming. and lesbian and bisexual women are also victims of slut shaming.
Mm-hmm.
So there are other categories of people that we didn't talk about that also are particularly get the brunt of slut shaming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel slut shamed in your day-to-day life?
In my day-to-day life? No, I don't think so. I slut shame myself on the inside sometimes, but like
interesting.
I don't think anybody looks at my life or says anything to me that leads me to feel any sort of way. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. No, I don't feel. That's interesting that you talked about your own judgment. I don't have any judgment of any. I don't get any judgment from anyone that I can even think of. And maybe also because I don't, it's just my close friends, and all our friends are very socially conscious people, are aware of the stigmas around sex and gay men, and are really good at things like this. So no, not to shame me. And you're right. Even, straight women have had positive reactions to me talking about being a slut. And so I joke about being a slut a lot, and it's in a very joke about it for myself. And it almost feels like a compliment or a fun thing. Like it's fun to be slutty, and it's enjoyable and pleasurable and sexy, and it's just like a good thing. So I feel like I have the reverse of that. It's like slut rewarding.
You're slut affirming.
Slut affirming. Yes. Yes. All my affirmations are very slutty. Yeah.
I mean, Kyle.
What?
Straight people are very straight, and
they can't help it.
They can't help it. But like they have a lot of messages about like they get married and then they live in a white picket fence and they have their 2.2 children or whatever. And we've talked a lot on the show about the fact that like just being gay immediately breaks that. So then you get to sort of explore what things you care about and what things you don't, and do it a different way.
Yeah.
But we still know what straight people are told is the quote unquote right way to live life. Mm-hmm. And I am sometimes painfully aware of that. So like boyfriend and I are open. We're in an open relationship. We have rules. It's not a sexual free for all, but I'm not going to go into the parameters here, but we are allowed to have sex with other people and do. And every time I talk to a straight person about that, and it comes up in conversation, I have that hesitation, just like it feels like the same hesitation is coming out. It's like, mm-hmm. I'm like saying I'm gay, saying that we are open. It feels like that level of sort of, am I going to say this or not? And how is it going to be received? And.
Yeah.
And, I think that like, I don't let people slut shame me because I slut shame myself into not saying that or something. And when I have said it in some contexts, it hasn't gone well.
Interesting.
The implication is that open relationships are for sluts, and that I should feel bad for being in one, or that it demeans my relationship somehow, that's true. And I don't know. I don't know what to do with all of that. I just wanted to say it, I guess. It comes up in a work context more because I am more open. I have sex with more people that aren't my boyfriend when I am traveling, and I do most of my traveling for work. And
you tell your coworkers know about the sex you're having?
Well, because it's often like we're all three sitting at a restaurant, or however many people sitting at a restaurant, and I'm like on Grindr in whatever city we're in, and I'm like, sorry girls, I'm going to go hook up. Like it comes up because of the time that we spend outside of work in these other places,
Interesting.
And I do have this, like, I force myself to lean in because I'm not going to, I don't want to be in the closet anymore about anything. I just want to like own it and say it and do it and be it. But like sometimes that's harder than it sounds.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds, I mean, like, how long has it been since you've been in an open relationship that seems like a newer thing than being gay. So you might need to take it easy on yourself if you're still struggle with coming out. Like, how long did it take to be comfortable, totally comfortable coming out and telling people you're gay? Like, that didn't happen even when you first came out.
That's true.
It wasn't easy within the next year all of a sudden to be like, oh yeah, I'm gay, tell everyone and not worry about it. So
That's true.
yeah, maybe give yourself some time and some grace.
I'm so good at that, Kyle.
No, you're so bad at that. You need to work on yourself, you slut.
Yeah. God, I should take so many dicks just to teach myself a lesson.
Yeah, punish yourself.
Punish my hole.
Punish your hole with dicks.
Is there more to say? Have you ever felt slut shamed?
I don't think so, because I think the times where I was most slutty have been when I was around supportive people. And I don't think I put it out there. Like, I don't talk about it on social media. I don't put it out there to strangers. I don't talk about my sex life, even at work where other people talk about their sex lives. I don't talk about mine that much. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm a little bit more reserved in talking about it with people that aren't my close friends who I know are going to be cool with it.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I'll call you a slut all you want, Kyle. I'm happy to shame you for whatever.
I love it. It feels good.
We didn't talk about slut walk, which slut walk is a thing, but it's not gay, so I didn't bring it up.
Yeah. That's the walk home the next morning. And also that requires you to stay the night. Like, someone asked recently, they were like, I can come over, but I'd have to stay the night because I need to be like in the Seattle area early in the morning. And I was like, let's find a different night. Like,
oh no, slut walk is an actual walk, like with sluts, like that is like a fundraiser.
I thought it was the morning after the slut walk.
There's also the walk of shame for sure.
Oh, the walk of shame is what I'm thinking of.
But there shouldn't be any shame, girl. Good for you for getting it.
Yeah, for sure.
No, Slut Walk is a transnational movement calling for an end to rape culture, including victim blaming and slut shaming of sexual assault victims. It started in Toronto in 2011 because a Toronto police officer said that, quote, women should avoid dressing like sluts as a way to prevent rape.
Wait, back to, it's a transnational. You don't mean it's not transgender.
No, it's transnational. It's
all one word. Yeah.
It's Canada, the UK, Australia, the United States, Switzerland. It's all over the place. And so it's a march.
Cool.
I know. I kind of want to go to Slut Walk, except I think it's for straight ladies mostly. And that's their space.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Did we do it?
Yeah, I think we talked about a lot of slutty things.
We talked about sluts a lot.
Yeah, we did. And in a very hopefully affirming way.
Yeah.
We support you in your consensual sexual activities.
I support everyone.
Yeah.
And in that chapter, I do.
No, not everyone. You don't support.
Why not? Oh, I don't support Republicans. They shouldn't be allowed to have sex.
What were you going to say about the book?
Oh, the book, like that chapter. I had a lot of feelings about that chapter, writing that chapter, and there's you have to buy a copy and read the book now, so you know what I said.
Gayishpodcast.com/book.
Great. Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's take a break and get fucked.
Yeah, slut fuck.
Break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to do our gayest and straightest.
We're going to do our gayest and straightest, but first, local gay bar review. Ooh, great. I'm going to talk to you about Pokopokaya in Osaka, Japan.
Okay.
And this place was fun. Like most bars, especially gay bars in Japan, it was very small. You could fit like maybe 5 people at the bar.
Wow.
And there was the dude behind the counter. It was a fun convo with like younger dudes, because we'd been to a couple of places that were like, we did not fit in age-wise with what was happening there. This place was very cheap, even by Osaka standards. And the bartender made a sketch of us sitting at his bar and gave it to us, and now likes a lot of my random posts on Instagram, which is weird.
Oh, cute.
But as I said, gay bars in Japan, not my jam in general. So this is three dildos in Japan, 2 anywhere else.
I like the different standards of dildo math that has to happen.
Yep. Dildo math.
Yep.
Our website is gayishpodcast.com.
We're on social media at Gayish Podcast, or you can find our Facebook group or our Discord if you go to gayishpodcast.com/contact.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, especially if it's your gayest and straightest, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109.
You ready for our Gayest and Straightest?
I don't know. Am I, Kyle?
Why don't I go first then to kick us off?
Okay, go ahead.
My gayest is listening to the song Boy Crazy on repeat. It's one of Kesha's new songs, and it very much fits in with my slutty vibe right now. And I love it so much.
You do love Key $Ha so much.
I do. She did remove the $sign from her name because she's an adult now. Okay. She grew up and matured. But yes, I do love her a bunch. And
you know, I bet she loves you.
I hope so. Yeah. That would make my day.
Mm-hmm.
And my straightest is buying the cheap Suave shampoo from the grocery store.
Oh, good work.
Yep. It's just the cheap. It's like tropical forest flavored or whatever. And it's just the, I don't know, makes me feel like a real straight dude having just the cheap grocery store brand shit.
You've never been like one for like high-end product, right? Like,
nope. I don't do like any skincare. I use bar soap, which that's weird to people. Yeah. I don't do products.
Yeah.
What about you?
What about me? Okay. So the straightest thing about me this week is having to decide things about HVAC. Like we installed a heat pump and have to figure out like where we want the hoses to go and where to hang the refrigerant distributor. Like, just, I don't know. I feel like my straightest, like most weeks now, is just going to be shit about my house. The gayest thing about me this week, and I'm nervous because he might be a listener, is, oh my God, the HVAC installer is sexy as fuck.
Ooh.
I can't handle it. Every question he asks, I'm just like barely paying attention because I want him to take his shirt off. He's going to come back and finish some stuff up, and I'm going to be out of the country, and I just kind of don't want to, like, I don't know. I don't want to be a perv, you know?
Yeah.
But after the job is done and I've paid him, then maybe we can hang out. Call me.
Oh, good for you.
Or if you're not into it, that's fine too. We can just, you and your husband can come over and we can have dinner and talk Russian to each other.
Oh, you'd be fine. You'd be fine with just looking at him from afar.
Well, or like, yeah, shirt optional.
Shirt optional.
We have a listener's Gayest and Straightest this week.
Yeah. This is Troy from Portland.
Hi, Mike and Kyle. My name is Troy, and I am in the Portland, Oregon area. Would love to have y'all down. The last time that y'all were in Portland, Oregon, it was a week before I moved here. Anyway, got a Gayest and Straightest for you. The straight, renovating my house that I just bought a month ago, so I've been taking down a wall, I've been spreading insulation in the attic, doing all those majorly butch things. And the gayest is probably the same in that I was picking out a countertop and a tile to go in the kitchen, and I was saying, oh, that's not light, that's not dark enough. So just finding the right tile and countertop to go in the kitchen was definitely the gayest. So I feel like that was an easy win for my first submission. So love the podcast. Love you guys. Bye.
Aw. Okay, so Troy just illustrated the point perfectly. House stuff is like a good a good well from which to draw the thirst-quenching straightness that you need.
Exactly. And there's also some gay stuff in there too, because it's like picking out like and decorating and doing colors and all that shit. So it's a good combination.
Absolutely. And Troy is a hot name.
Troy is a hot name.
Did we do it?
Yeah.
Programming note. We are going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to be at Charlie's in Fremont, Friday the 30th of May, 2025, to do another book reading at Charlie's Queer Books in the Fremont neighborhood of Seattle, Washington. Join us there at 7 p.m.
Yeah. It's on Friday. So if you're listening to this on the main feed day, come out tomorrow and come hang out with us.
And then we're going to be at Madison Pub in Seattle for a meet and greet at 9 p.m. with the boys from Minora T Report.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Come say hey and hang out because they're fun.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Well, thanks to everybody who is a slut.
Yeah, thanks to all those sluts. We appreciate all the work you do. You're the reason I get laid. And I want to thank our super gap bridgers. Thank you to Locomotive, Simon Srirachi, Kaylee Adams, Kit Oliver, Kobe Gordon, Squoggle, Pip, Andrew Bugby, William Bryant, John Crowley, Yost Osel, Jonathan Montanius, Forrest Nail, Steve Douglas, Explosive Lasagna, Michael Covington, Thomas B, Dusty Sands, A. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, Jerome York, and Cian and Javi. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your money. That's it. This has been Gayish from the Chris Cacciatorian Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you.
You dirty, dirty, dirty slut.
Dirty slut, you love it. Bye. How's that wine going down?
So good.
Yeah.
It's yelling timber.